While it's true that crime doesn't pay, unfortunately some of the world's wealthiest and most wealthy people are criminals. They are a remarkable group of strong people who had bizarre lifestyles despite accumulating some of the biggest wealth possible. However, several of these were placed on official most wanted lists in several nations. This is typically the #1 cause of their downfall and losing millions. So first, how did they join this modern business and how wealthy did they become? And eventually, how exactly did they lose all their fortunes? Well, let's get started. Number 8. Osiel Cárdenas Guillén, $29 million. The Gulf Cartel was described as particularly violent in the US Border Security Handbook and grew its influence under Cárdenas' direction. He snuck into the once impeachable Mexican Special Forces branch of the military. There, he built a private mercenary army to serve as his bodyguards and enforcers of his will. Later, this army was referred to as Los Zetas, a vicious organization that would instead behead a government official than pay him off. With such a group at his disposal, Cárdenas' cartel became one of the world's most powerful drug trafficking conglomerates. Before threatening a couple of DEA agents to protect an informant, Cárdenas appeared to be unstoppable. After the US government's might was aroused, however, Cárdenas was apprehended and extradited to the country in 2003, where he's still being held in prison in Texas. Since Cárdenas' incarceration, Los Zetas have split from the Gulf Cartel, and their involvement in Mexico's drug war has grown. Number 7. Frank Lucas, $52 million. Frank Lucas, a native of North Carolina, moved to New York and immediately began a relationship with neighborhood gang leader Bumpy Johnson. After Johnson passed away, Lucas saw a chance to enter the Italian mafia-dominated drug trade that had previously been so prevalent. He developed a distribution network directly from Southeast Asia by utilizing military ties that he had abroad. Heroin was produced from poppy plants and transported back to the United States via military aircraft. Lucas has asserted that heroin was sometimes packed into the coffins of soldiers being flown back from Vietnam. The purity of the heroin, along with Lucas's aggressive behavior towards rivals and the evil New York City police force in the early 1970s, resulted in Lucas being able to generate millions of dollars every single month. Police corruption would prompt an investigation, however, which would ultimately result in Lucas being arrested. He was imprisoned, but his sentence was reduced once he became a government informant. He had no money left, but he was now free. Hollywood later adapted his tale for the Denzel Washington starring film American Gangster. The movie, which isn't entirely authentic and has been criticized for portraying Lucas as a hero, nevertheless, demonstrates how fascinated Americans are with the country's most notorious drug lord. In May 2019, Lucas passed away. Number 6. Josè David Figueroa Agosto, $100 million. Figueroa Agosto is one of the most powerful and deadliest drug lords in Puerto Rico, holding the firmly established position of leader of the organization that produced 90% of the island's cocaine. Agosto was finally apprehended in the capital of Puerto Rico after 10 years of police monitoring. In the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, Agosto was listed as one of the most wanted fugitives. He avoided capture, however, and had a luxurious life in both nations while on the run. He allegedly used fictitious identities to purchase residences and cars. He formerly served as the boat's driver to transport drugs. Nevertheless, he murdered a truck driver in 1993 for stealing a cargo of cocaine from Colombia. Later on though, after being found guilty of killing the truck driver, he was given a 209-year prison term. However, he would show the Puerto Rican security officers a false release order and leave the prison straight through the main entrance. Despite then undergoing cosmetic procedures and donning a wig, however, Agosto was ultimately arrested again. He's currently being held in a federal cell in Brooklyn, New York. At the same time, he's waiting for his trial for several offenses involving homicide, abduction, financial crimes, and of course drug trafficking. Number 5. George Jung, $100 million. Due to his involvement in the 1970s and 1980s cocaine trade in the United States, George Jung went by Boston George and El Americano. He was also a member of the Medellin cartel, a vicious Colombian drug cartel with a daily revenue of more than $60 million. The Medellin cartel trafficked about 85% of the cocaine in the United States. Large-scale Colombian cocaine trafficking was Jung's area of expertise. He began by enlisting the help of his girlfriend to smuggle drugs. She could conceal the drugs in her baggage because she was a stewardess. Initially, Jung purchased marijuana in California and distributed it in New England. Later, he would make his international expansion, but he was eventually arrested. He spent nearly 20 years in prison following his arrest and conviction for cocaine smuggling. Jung has spent time behind bars in several jails across the country. However, he was recently discharged from a halfway home in July 2017 and is now 75 years old. Number 4. Joaquín Archivaldo Guzmán Loera, $1 billion. Guzmán is the head of the Sinaloa cartel, which supplies most of the medicines brought into the country. These included cocaine, marijuana, methamphetamine, and heroin, all of which are shipped by the ton via cultivated land and air distribution networks. Between 1993, when he started, and 2001, when Guzmán was detained and put behind bars, the law finally caught up with him. But until his eventual escape, which required the payment of 78 individuals and cost him over $2 million to plan, he made himself at home while he was in jail through threats and intimidation. However, he was apprehended once more on February 22, 2015, but it took him very little time to make a second escape from a maximum security facility on July 11th. By crawling under the shower in his cell, he fled through a mile-long tunnel that led to an open construction site. However, he was of course arrested again. Guzmán was returned to the United States by the Mexican government in January 2017 to face charges related to drug trafficking and other offenses. Guzmán appeared in a US federal court and entered a not guilty plea to several accusations. His guilty penalty, however, was life in prison plus 30 years in jail and ordered to pay $12.6 billion in compensation in July 2019. Number 3. Griselda Blanco, $2 billion. Interestingly, not all drug lords are men. Griselda Blanco, often known as La Madrina or the Godmother, was one of history's most lethal drug queenpins. She first gained fame by creating bras and girdles that could conceal cocaine being trafficked. Then, in the early 1970s, after leaving Colombia, she moved to Queens, New York. This is where she established a sizable enterprise. However, she was charged in 1975 after the government seized a sizable shipment of cocaine. She ran away again, this time to Miami, but she didn't stay away for long. Blanco painted Miami white and crimson in the 1980s with cocaine and stained it with rival drug dealers' blood. Motorcycle drive-by shootings were a very popular technique. A submachine gun attack at a mall was among the Blanco-related crimes committed in Miami around this time. Blanco also made her godmother position very known, even going so far as to give her youngest son the name Michael Corleone in honor of the figure from The Godfather. But much like a movie character, she'd have a very ironic ending. She was slain using the technique she had frequently used to eliminate her adversaries when she was shot dead in front of a butcher shop by an assassin on a motorcycle. Number 2. Carlos Lehder, $2.7 billion. Lehder was a drug kingpin in Colombia and co-founded the Medellin cartel. He was in charge of a sizable network for the transportation of cocaine on Norman's Cay Island in the Bahamas. Also notable is his founding of the paramilitary organization Muerte a Secuestradores, which attempted to inflict vengeance on rebels who had abducted cartel families and members. He also founded the National Latin Movement, a political movement with neo-Nazi overtones that aimed to sabotage the extradition pact between Colombia and the United States. Lehder's downfall happened when he brought attention to the activities on Norman's Cay by publicly paying Bahamas officials, which resulted in accusations of drug trafficking, kidnapping, and murder. In addition to the 55 years without parole that he was initially given, Lehder is supposedly still serving a total of 135 years. On the other side, Lehder agreed to testify against Manuel Noriega. Therefore, it's also thought that he's in the witness protection program. Regardless, he's currently being held at a high-security American institution. Number 1. The Ochoa brothers, $6 billion. Three brothers, Jorge, Juan David, and Fabio Ochoa, co-founded and participated in the Medellin cartel. Before the Medellin cartel was even established, the Ochoa brothers were already involved in the production and distribution of cocaine. Henceforth, their alliance with Escobar, Rodriguez, and others seemed very logical. During the height of their business, they were reported to have a total net worth of around $6 billion. Jorge and Juan David eventually turned into the Colombian government as their drug enterprise crumbled, and Fabio was extradited to the United States. He was found guilty of trafficking, conspiracy, and distribution of cocaine in the United States in 2003. This is when he received a 30-year prison term at a US federal facility. Following his incarceration, the Colombian authorities took from him multiple farms and enterprises worth several $1 million in US currency. Unfortunately for them, after being caught, most of their wealth was seized by the government. But anyway, that's all, and who in your eyes among them was the king, or should I say queen, of this business? Which of these surprised you the most and why? Be sure to let us know down below in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and turn on notifications. If you want to know more about famous, rich and powerful people who go broke in history, be sure to check out our next video.